Do want to apologize for the technical difficulties. We are back up and running here. Lord willing, everything is going smooth here now. We're just going to run it back from Esther. We'll go back to chapter 1 and start at verse 10, and we'll keep it rolling from there.
The book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 10. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Minham, Bitha, Harbana, Bigda, Agabatha, Zethar, and Karsas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Again, this is during the time of the Persians and Medes. So, again, the king, Ahasuerus, requested for Vashti to make an appearance, to show off her fairness, her beauty, right? And she denied that. Read.
But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment.
So she decided to not obey the commandment of the king and not come and present herself. Read.
But his chamberlains, therefore, was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him.
All right. Now, again, jump over to verse 17.
Verse 17.
Matter of fact, keep going. Verse 13. We'll read on through.
Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the time, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew the law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Sithar, Admatha, Tarshish, Mers, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law?
Because again, the law of the king was absolute, right? You're not supposed to disobey the word of the king, right? The orders of the king. So they're asking, what can we do for Vashti disobeying a direct order from the king, right? Read.
Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Mukan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the king hath not done wrong to the king only.
Vashti the queen. Read.
Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus.
So remember, by her displaying that that type of spirit, not only does it is frowned on the king, it's frowned on all of the princes, because now they're looking at it again as, if she's doing this is going to be an influence on our wives and our women to start to do the exact same thing, right? Read.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
So this same idea now shall come on all women. So looking at it in the modern aspect, right? You have your modern day feminism going on with how the woman is displayed in the media, how most women are choosing to live their lives so promiscuously. Literally trying to nip that style of thinking and that style, that spirit in the bud, because as you can see, that same style of thinking is lit like wildfire. And now a lot of our sisters are going through so much trauma. Nobody's looking at you for you. You're looking at you as an object just to lay down with, just to get the rocks off. And the sisters just want to rack up a body count, just want to do and be as society and media has showed to be very promiscuous women. That destroys your psyche.
That's right.
It keeps you from being able to truly bond with your significant other. Because now you've taken bits and pieces of all of these different bodies that you've taken on. You have no way of truly communicating with someone. You have no way of truly building a relationship, because you've taken on all of these different bodies, these different personalities, these different spirits. this is the same thing, and what they're trying to do is to keep that from happening amongst the rest of the sisters, right? Just to break that down into a modern day, what we have going on now. Read on, bro.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
So that they should do what, bro?
Despise their husband in their eyes.
Read.
When it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
So again, they're trying to stop that spirit at the door. Stomp that flame out right now before it becomes a wildfire. Read.
If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him. Let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
So now her punishment is her status to be revoked, her position to be revoked, and her to be replaced with another sister that's going to be more obedient and more fair. Someone that's going to actually adhere to and listen, right? Read.
And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great. All the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes. And the king did according to the word of Memucan.
Mm-hmm. Keep going, bro. Verse 22.
Verse 22. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, and to every province according to the written thereof.
So now we have the writing here. We're going to send this amongst all the people. That now we're going to try to bring in the maidens. Now we're trying to stomp out that wildfire from that spirit, reaching out to all of the other sisters and wives throughout the provinces, right? Read.
And to every people after their language, that every man shall bear rule in his own house.
So now again, the king is doubling down that every man should bear rule in his own house, that nobody should disrespect that man in his own home. Because in essence, for the king and the other princes of Persia and Media, this was disrespectful. So now they're trying to keep that spirit from branching out, right? Finish it out.
And that it should be published according to the language of every people.
Mm-hmm. Go to, matter of fact, start at verse 1 for chapter 2. We'll keep going.
Chapter 2. After these things, when the wrath of the king Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king.
So again, now that she's been removed from her status, now let's sought the young virgins to come in and be brought unto the king, so that he may now choose from these maidens his new queen. Read.
And let the king appoint officers in all provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Haggai, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. And let the maiden which pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
Mm-hmm. So now everything is set up. We're going to get all of these young maidens gathered together, bring them unto the palace, and let the king choose from these maidens who shall now take on that title of queen, right? Read.
Now in Shushan the palace, there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, who Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter.
So again, we have the brother Mordecai, right? Who's now going to take in the daughter of his uncle, right? His cousin. Bring her in and become that father figure that is missing out of her life. Become that parent that she will need to ultimately instill proper morals, right? Instill in her the knowledge and wisdom of the Lord, the statutes and commandments, right? Read.
For she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, who Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
Read.
So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and speedily gave her the things for purification, with such thing as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her, out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women.
So she was, again, so fair and so beautiful to look upon that he made sure she had all of the best of the things that could be provided for her, right? Read.
Esther had not shewed her people nor her kindred. For Mordecai had charged.
Read verse 10 again.
Verse 10. Esther had not shewed her people nor her kindred. For Mordecai had charged her that she should not shew it.
So again, just showing the dynamics between the two, Vashti and Esther, right? Mordecai being that father figure, instilling in her the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Lord, the law, statutes, and commandments, and also instilling in her, right, to listen and be obedient, to take on the guidance of that father figure, right? So playing off of the dynamic of these two, Vashti who did not listen and Esther who does listen. So this is one of the qualities that the quote unquote King Ahasuerus is looking for, right, in his new queen. Read.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the woman's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now when every maid's turn was come to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women. For so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shagaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighting in her, and that she were called by name.
So now after the whole purification process of these 12 months, now she has been upgraded from being amongst all of the women now into the whole section with the king now. So he's showing the favor amongst Esther already, showing his like for her, showing that his interest for this particular sister. Read.
Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her.
So again, her beauty and her fairness, right, has captivated everyone in Shushan, right? Read.
So Esther was taken unto the king Ahasuerus, into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins.
So again, this is how fair and beautiful she is to look upon, that she gained favor from the king off of how she was kept, off of how she operated, how she moved. And all of this is coming from the guidance of Mordecai. Being in the life of their sister, showing her how to operate and move as a well-groomed lady should move. A lot of these qualities and a lot of these teachings are no longer in the household anymore. Mothers and fathers are no longer really teaching their sons to be men.
That's right.
And their daughters to be women, and their sons to learn and grow to be husbands, and their daughters to learn to grow and be women and wives. No one is teaching these things, these qualities, and instilling in this knowledge. No more. We need to bring back these things. We need to come back to our roots. We need to come back into the word and train up our children and teach them so that they may do the same thing to the next generation. It's hard trying to learn on the fly to be a husband. It's hard trying to learn on the fly to be a wife. It brings more chaos into the household if you do not have this as a foundation.
Thank God.
Always at odds and end, pulling away, pulling against it with each other. Looking at this, using this as an example for learning.
That's right.
Read on, bro.
So that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants.
So now Esther has been promoted, brought up now to be the new queen. Read.
Even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate.
So now Mordecai has come back again now. Read.
Esther had not shewed her kindred nor her people.
Even now that she has received the crown from the king, now she has received the status of a queen, she still not has disobeyed the direction from Mordecai to show and tell who she is. She's still adhering to the guidance. Read.
As Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai.
She did what?
Did the commandment of Mordecai.
So again, Esther is showing that she can listen and she can also operate. She can listen and also operate. Read.
Like as when she was brought up with him in those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Two of the king's chamberlain, Bigthan and Tarshish, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus.
So now these particular two chamberlains, Bigthan and Tarshish, are looking to do harm to King Ahasuerus. And Mordecai just so happened to be within the same vicinity of these two particular people. Read.
And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen.
So now Mordecai, being in the midst of this, passed this information on to Esther, right, who is now again the queen. Read.
Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name.
So now what she has done, she has taken that information that Mordecai has given her and brought that to the king and stating that Mordecai is the one that came across this information. Read.
And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out.
So now they did an investigation on the information that was brought to them. Read.
Therefore they were both hanged on a tree.
So now with that investigation that has went through, they found these two people to be guilty. So now they both have been hung from a tree. So now the information that Mordecai was privy to was used to save King Ahasuerus' life. Just keep that in mind. This information was used to save King Ahasuerus' life, right? Read.
And it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
All right, now jump over to verse 3 of chapter 3.
Chapter 3, verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's
Matter of
gate.
fact, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Read from verse 1.
Verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agite, and advanced him. And he set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
So now after Bigtha and Tertius have now been received their punishment for seeking the life of King Ahasuerus, now we have this particular person here has been brought up to be in the seat above all of the princes that are in Persia and Media. Read.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not.
But Mordecai what?
Bowed not.
But Mordecai bowed not. Read.
Nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman, to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand.
So now because Mordecai chose not to bow down to Haman, now he's looked at as an issue, right? Read.
For he had told them that he was a Jew.
That he was what?
A Jew.
Read.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
So now he is upset with this man here because he did not show him reverence. He did not bow down unto him. So now he has an issue with not only Mordecai, but now he's going to bring that issue amongst the people of the Jews, right? Our people, right? Read on.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had shewed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus.
So because Mordecai did not want to bow down to this man, now he's decided to take his issue not only with him, but against all of our brothers and sisters because he chose not to bow down to man. Read.
Even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is, the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is, the lot, before Haman from day to day, from month to month, to the 12th month, that is, the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom.
So now Haman is starting to weave the web to sow dissent into the king for him to show ill will towards the Jews, right? Read.
And their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws.
So now he's trying to show that this particular people will not obey the laws of man. Instead, they will obey the laws of their God. So now he's trying to show that this particular people needs to go because they do not want to bow down and serve man. They want to serve their Lord, their God. Read.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
So now, because they want to serve their God and not man, they are a liability. They are an issue. Read.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
Let it what?
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
He said, let it be written that these people be destroyed. Again, keep in mind, Esther has not told King Ahasuerus who she is and where she is from. Read.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasury.
So now he putting a hit out on the people. He's put a bounty out on the people. Read.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Jephthahisrael, the Agate, the Jews' enemy.
The what?
The Jews' enemy.
Read.
And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee.
All right, read.
Then were the king's scribe called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the written thereof, and to every people after their language. And the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
So now they have this letter that has been provided from Haman in using the king's seal, stating with that seal that these are the words of the king himself, right? This letter is written in all of the languages of everyone in the provinces. So no one can say that they did not see and or read this, right? Read.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews.
So now in this letter that is sealed with the king's seal, but the words of Haman, that all of the Jews are to be killed and destroyed that are within the provinces. Read.
Both young and old.
Both what?
Young and old.
Both young and old. Read.
Little children.
Even the little children. Read.
And women.
And what?
And women.
So now there's a hit out on all of our people. Read.
In one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given into every province.
So now this is a writing that is supposed to be looked at as a commandment from the king. Again, it was sealed with the king's ring, with his signet. Read.
Was published unto all people, that they shall be ready against that day. The post went out, being haste by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. So
again, remember Mordecai, right? The brother that has been shown favor because he saved the life of Ahasuerus with the information of the two chamberlain, Victor and Tertius, wanting to take his life, right? This brother utilizes the information. Esther took that information and presented it unto him. So now, not only has he saved the king's life, but now he also has an enemy amongst the court of the king who wants to see him and his people gone. But the queen that was chosen from Ahasuerus, the one that he is so madly in love with, the one that he is taken by in favor because of her beauty and how she operates, is also of the same people who he wished to destroy. Keep that in mind. Let's keep it going, bro. Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes, and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And every provinces, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, the fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
So now all of our people are in an uproar because now there is a commandment from the king that they should be killed, that they should perish, that they should be destroyed, both man, woman, and child, both young and old. Read.
So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved.
So now Esther is grieved because there is now a quote-unquote commandment from the king that her people are to be preyed upon. Read.
Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hathach, one of the king's chamberlains, who had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was, and why it was. So Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's palace. And Mordecai told him of all that happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them.
So now he's letting them know that not only has there been a decree for us to be destroyed, but there's also a reward for the destruction of our people. Brother Mordecai now is showing himself to pray to the Lord in his time of need for the people. They began to weep, they began to fast, and call on the Lord. Things have already been set in motion. Read.
Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go unto the king.
So now he is charging her. He's giving her another commandment. He's giving her more instruction to go into the king, right? Read.
To make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for her people. And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai.
So now she is to make supplication unto the king and request for her and her people. Right? Read.
Again Esther spake unto Hathach, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servant and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death.
So anyone to come in that has not been called, the law is for them to be put to death, right? Read.
Except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house, more than all the Jews.
He say, think not because you in the house with the king that you are going to be able to escape what's looking like to happen amongst our people. Read.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Read.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me.
So, and do what, bro?
And fast ye for me.
So now she's calling on all of the people of Shushan, all of the Jews, to fast and pray, right? Read.
And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maids will fast likewise.
So now everybody is putting themselves in this position now to show supplication unto the Lord for these 3 days for the deliverance of what's looking like to happen unto the people due to the command of Haman with the seal of the king, right? He wants to destroy Mordecai and his people, right? Read.
And so will I go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
So keep in mind that anyone to come up unto the king without request is to be put to death unless they are presented the king's scepter, right? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Read verse 5, chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight.
Again, she obtained favor in the sight of the king, right? Read.
And the king held out Esther the golden scepter.
He did what?
Held out Esther the golden scepter.
So he held out that golden scepter unto Esther. Remember, no one is to come unto the king without being called, or else they will be put to death, unless they are presented the golden scepter, right? Read.
That was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request?
So now he's asking, what do you need, Esther? What's going on? Read.
It shall even given thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther had said.
So now she requested for a banquet to be held for the king and Haman, right? Read.
So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition?
So now in this banquet, the king is asking her, okay, Esther, what do you need? What was the purpose of this banquet? What is your request, right? Read.
And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it shall be performed.
Read.
Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I had found favor in thy sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition.
So if I have found favor in sight of the king, and it pleases the king, right? She already know that the king has favor towards her. She already understands where and what her position is in the sight of the king, right? She utilizing the fairness and the infatuation that the king has for her for the advantage of her and her people. Keep reading.
And to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, then he stood not up, nor moved for him. He was full of indignation against Mordecai.
He had hatred towards Mordecai again, because Mordecai did not bow himself down unto Haman. Read.
Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself. And when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Xerxes, his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children and all the things wherein the king had promoted him.
So now he's bragging unto his family all the things he received since he's now been put above all of the princes of Persia and Media. Read.
And how he advanced him above the princes and the servants of the king. Haman said moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself.
So now he's bragging that now I have not only been set up, but now also the queen has chosen to have a banquet just for the king and myself, right? Read.
And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
He said, man, everything was all good until I seen the face of Mordecai. Read.
Then said Xerxes his wife, and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made of the 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon.
So now, from the counsel of his wife and his friends, they have now conspired that gallows be created for Mordecai to be hung from those gallows. This is the request that he is going to present unto the king at the banquet. That is the banquet that's set up by Esther. Right? This is what he's going to present to them from the counsel of his wife and of his friends, right? Because he has indignation towards Mordecai for not bowing down unto him, instead wanting to follow and serve their Lord, their God, wanting to be one with their God. Read.
Then going thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
All right, so things getting juicy now. So now we have Haman, the enemy of the Jews, still seeking to destroy Mordecai and his people. Because again, there has not been a change from the decree that was sent out that the Jews be destroyed, that the Jews perish, that the Jews be killed. All of these things are still in motion as of right now. Read chapter 6.
Chapter 6. On the night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told Bigtha and Tertius, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door.
So hold up. It say on that night the king could not sleep. He could not sleep, so he called for records to be brought so he can review these records. So again, let's take into account everything that's going on in the play. Again, we have the decree that the Jews be destroyed, that they perish. We have Haman, who has ill will towards Mordecai. We have these things in play as of right now. So in a night where the king could not sleep, we have our brothers and sisters, all of them were fasting and praying and weeping on these days, praying for the Lord to bring deliverance for his people. Let's see how this play out. Read.
On the night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of the records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told Bigtha and Tertius, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus.
So now he's reading these records and remembering that Mordecai had a hand in saving his life. Read.
And the king said, what honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai for this?
So now he's asking, okay, he did this for me. How did we reward this brother? He brought information that was very valuable to save my life from being abruptly taken from these two individuals. What have we done for him? What records do we show that we've showed our appreciation for him keeping me from getting my candle blown out? Read.
Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him.
There has nothing been done for Mordecai on behalf of him presenting the information to save King Ahasuerus' life. Read on.
And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him.
So remember that the counsel of Haman's wife and friends and family, that they should have these gallows made to basically knock off Mordecai. Read.
And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor?
So now, let's take into that account. Haman already is sitting on this high horse, thinking that the world is revolving around him because he's been set in a position higher than everyone else. So now, not only does he have a quote-unquote banquet for him, himself, and the king, the king and Esther, now he's thinking that the king is referring to him as the honor. So let's see how this transpired. Read, bro.
Now Haman thought in his heart to to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself.
So again, he's so arrogant and big-headed that he's thinking that the king is referring to himself. Read.
And Haman answered the king, for the man who the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king uses to wear.
So now, King, I wanna rock that fresh Gucci suit you got.
Break it out.
Right? I want the freshness of what you provide, and I wanna look the part of the station and position that I'm in. So let me rock what you got, right? So the person that is honored, he should be able to dress like this, King. Read.
And the horse that the king rideth upon.
So not only does the man that you want to honor, he should move and dress like you. Let me ride that whip you got too. Let me go ahead and hop in that marrow. Let me push that down the street, right? Read.
And the crown which is set upon his head.
So not only do I want to dress like the king, or not only should that particular individual dress as a king, move as a king, let me also rock that crown. Let me get that ice up out you, right? Read.
And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes.
So now the man should be honored with a fit, with a ride, and with the jewels. Read.
That they may array the man with all whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor.
So everything he just said, in his mind, he's envisioning, so the king gonna let me rock this, the king gonna let me drive this, the king gonna let me wear this, because I am the most honored throughout the whole provinces, throughout the whole kingdom. The arrogancy of a man that has indignation towards a man, a devout worshiper of the Lord, a man that sought to be a father figure in the life of somebody who would not have had anybody there, to instill in her the morals, to instill in her the knowledge, to instill in her the wisdom of the Lord, to operate as a lady should operate, as a respectable citizen should move. He sought to take this particular man's life, but all the while, just gave that man his whole outlook.
That's right.
See, the Lord say, let vengeance be his. Kill him with kindness. Amen. Stay in your lane. Do what you need to do for the Lord. Because at the end of the day, all of the things that have been sought to be done wrong by you, the Lord is going to correct these things as long as you do what you need to do on your end. Let's keep that in mind. He say, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
That's right.
That's right.
Think about that. You reap what you sow.
That's right.
So what seeds are you planting? Read on, bro.
Then the king said unto Haman, make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
To who?
Mordecai the Jew.
No, not the people we supposed to kill.
Mordecai the Jew.
Not the people we supposed to have perish.
Mordecai the Jew.
Man, the man that I hate.
Mordecai the Jew.
Read.
That sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken.
See, man, you can just imagine the jaw drop that Haman had.
Bring it out.
The silence in the room, you could have heard a pin drop. Just looking inside his head, seeing the wheels turning like, wait, I'm supposed to be the most honored. I'm supposed to be the most favored in the kingdom. The man that did not bow down to me, the man that I had these gallows set up to take his life, he's getting everything that I wanted. Read.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city. and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done unto the man who the king delighted to honor.
Read on.
And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning, and having his head covered. And Haman told Xerxes his wife, and all his friends, everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Xerxes his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him.
Now what?
Thou shalt not prevail against him.
Read.
But shalt surely befall before him.
Because again, when vengeance is mine, said the Lord. Do what you need to do. Operate how you need to operate. Move how you need to move according to the will of the Lord.
That's right.
All your issues and problems, man. There is a way made to get out of them. There is that light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm saying all of this for what's coming to the end. Read.
And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and haste to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Keep going, bro. Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. So the king of Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at that banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. What is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom.
So again, the king is asking, okay, Esther, what do you need? What is it that you're needing? What can I offer for you? The person that I have so much infatuation for. Read.
Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I had found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
So again, it say, let my life and the life of my people be given unto me at this petition, right? Read.
For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish.
So there's a hit put out on our people for us to be destroyed, for us to be slain, for our people to perish. Again, remember, Esther did not divulge unto the king who she was and where she was from. Read.
But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not contravail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he?
So now he's asking, who seek to destroy you? The very woman that the king has favor for, the very woman that the king has eyes for, the very woman that the king heart is for, because again, he established her to be the queen. Her fairness and everyone around her is fawning over this particular sister, Esther, because of how she operates, how she moves. The morals and life instilled in her through Mordecai. Read.
Who is he? And where is he? That durst presume in his heart to do so.
So who is this man that seeks to take you out? You and your people. Read.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
Is who?
Is this wicked Haman.
So now she's, again, set the stage. Got the king and Haman by themselves in the banquet. So now she can let her plan come to fruition. All of the pieces on the chessboard are here. Read.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen.
So now he done stood up and wants to plead his case unto the Queen Esther, because now he knows that she is also a Jew. Now he knows that she is part of the people who he seeks to kill, who he seeks to destroy, who he seeks to perish, who he sought to put a hit out on. All because, again, Mordecai did not want to bow down to man because Mordecai wanted to serve his Lord. Read.
For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
So now he done walked in on a very precarious situation. The king walks in and he's prostrated himself on the bed, pleading unto Esther, don't let this happen. But to the eyes of the king, it looks like he's trying to make a move on his queen. So not only do you seek to kill her and all of her people, now you trying to push up on her in my house?
Bring it out.
Read.
As a word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbor, one of the chamberlains, said before the king,
Hold on. They did what to Haman, bro?
Covered his face.
Go to YouTube right quick and type in head of state security. I need that right quick. Type in head of state security. Oh, the relevancy of this scene. I need that. Yeah, pull it up. Make it big.
Is this right here, right?
Yeah, I just want the scene. No, not let that ad go through. That's an ad. It'll be Alt Plus to bring it in. Just wait for the ad to come through. Because I need this scene, man. I'll wait. Skip through. Go to about half of it. Yeah, all right. Go ahead. Back just a little bit. Right there. Go ahead, bring it up. What's up with the sound? Is the video muted? There we go. Now Alt Plus. Now Alt Plus to bring it in. Right at the top of the keyboard, it should be Alt Plus. Yeah. Don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it, bro. Let's finish it out. Don't worry about it, bro. Go ahead and pause it. Read that last section of verse 8 again, bro.
They covered Haman's face.
Read.
And Harbor, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
So now, not only your whole plan has been shot, now the very same device you've set up in your indignation to take out Mordecai is now used on you. You sought to take this man out. You sought to take his people out. And all of your plans have backfired. The things that you set in mind for the king to give unto the man that he honors, who you thought was going to be you, all of that is given to Mordecai. The queen, the very lady that has the ear of the king, who has all exceeding infatuation for, is part of the very same people that you put a decree out to kill, destroy, and perish. Everything is coming full circle. Read.
So they hanged Haman.
They did what?
So they hanged Haman
Read.
on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
All right, John, go ahead. Go ahead in the chapter 8, bro.
Chapter 8. On the day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemies, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and given it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman.
So now with Haman out of there, now Mordecai is speaking with the king, telling the king who he is and who he is to Esther. So now Mordecai is set in the position that Haman was in, above all of the princes. He has the signet of the king, who essentially is the voice of the king. Not only that, Mordecai was the one that raised Esther to be the woman that she is.
Bring it out.
Raised Esther to be the very woman that the king is infatuated with. Now his status is risen. Read verse 3.
Verse 3. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mission of Haman the Agate, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I had found favor in his sight, and the thing seemed right before the king, and be pleasing in his eyes, that it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hamdan, the Agate, which he wrote to destroy the Jews, which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come upon my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred?
So now it's saying, it's pleading out that all of these decrees that were written under the influence of Haman to be taken out, to be done away with, so that our people are no longer sought after, that our people are no longer prey for the wolves. Read.
Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther, the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hands upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse.
So now, again, now it is established with Mordecai being in the position that he is with the signet of the king, that all of these decrees be reversed, right? Jump down to verse 11.
Verse 11. Wherein the king granted the Jews, which were in every city, to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life.
And to do what?
And to stand for their life.
Read.
To destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and provinces that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
Read.
Upon one day in all provinces of the king Ahasuerus, namely, upon the 13th day of the 12th month.
Upon the what?
13th day of the 12th month.
Upon the 13th day of the 12th month. Read.
Which is the month of Adar. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people.
So now this is a copy of the writing, right? This is a commandment that is to be given unto all of the people of the provinces, right? For that day, the 13th day of the 12th month. Read.
And that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies.
Read.
So the posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being haste, and pressed on the king's commandment. And the decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad.
So now Mordecai, right, in that position now, he's rocking the things that was given to him from the king, right? Keep in mind that all of the previous decrees have been reversed. So now that the Jews are no longer to be sought and killed, read.
The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor, and in every province and in every city whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came. The Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day, and many people of the land became Jews.
And what?
And many people of the land became Jews.
So amongst all of this, and many people of the land also decided to follow and serve the Lord. Again, all of the people decided to follow and serve the Lord. I'm pretty sure when we was reading this, you completely read over that, didn't you? Read on, bro.
For the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
For what?
For the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
Because again, bro, we have a Lord, bro, that will make a way for you. Your God loves you. Do what you need to do. The Lord will make a way out of no way. Because in your eyes, you're worrying, you're stressing, you're in uproars. But if you lean on the power, you ain't got to worry about none of that.
That's right.
Because you know at the end of the day, you've done what the Lord needs you to do. So therefore, the things that you need done are going to make their way. Read on, bro.
Chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to put in execution, and the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, that it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had ruled over them that hated them.
So now, throughout the provinces and throughout the Persians and the Medes, you had people that had the same process or thought process as Haman. So now, on this particular day, the ones that sought to execute them, the ones that sought to destroy them, the ones that sought to kill them, they are now put in a higher position because of Mordecai and Esther. How they operated, how they moved. And then amongst the people, they all came together. They all unified under one accord that we are going to fast and pray as a nation. Supplication unto the Lord that he protect us in the time of need. Show us a way where there is no way, right? Read.
The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers of the king helped the Jews.
They did what?
Helped the Jews.
Read.
Because of the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater.
He did what, bro?
Waxed greater and greater.
Read.
Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hate them.
So again, the 13th day of the 12th month, right? That this decree came out, that all of the previous decrees were reversed. Our people have been put in a position to where now they are not sought after as prey. Jump down, verse 12.
Verse 12. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king provinces?
So again, keep in mind, right? Haman was already put to the gallows. Now you have all of his co-conspirators all of his family, all of the other people that was of the same mind as him to destroy the Jews, right? The Jews have now gotten the upper hand. Read.
Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. Or what is thy request? Further, and it shall be done. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews, which are at Shushan, to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree. And let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded, so it be done. And the decree was given at Shushan. And they hanged Haman 10 sons.
So they also took out the bloodline of Haman for what he wanted to do against the king's queen and Mordecai, who has great favor amongst the king and his people. Jump down to verse 16. We're coming to a close.
Verse 16. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together.
Matter of fact, read on from verse 15, bro.
Verse 15. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day, also of the month of Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan. But on the prey they laid not their hand. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives.
And did what?
And stood for their lives.
Read.
And had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month, Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
And made it a what?
A day of feasting and gladness.
It's on the 13th day of that month Adar, and on the 14th day, the same they rested and made it a feast. Right? Read.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, on the 14th thereof.
So the 13th day and the 14th day of the month Adar. Read.
And on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
So also the 15th day, they also made it a day of feasting and gladness. Read.
Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month of Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and sending portions one to another.
So that day, to celebrate the fact that the Jews have now been put in a position of where all those that had ill will towards them, they have now been put in a position to get rid of that. They are no longer sought after. They have now been put above the enemy. Jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20.
And we out.
And Mordecai wrote these things, and sent letter unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month of Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly.
So now we've established that these days that they've set aside that were feasting and days of rest, that the 14th day and the 15th day, that these should be days celebrated yearly. The Feast of Purim has come around to, in essence, celebrate that the unity of the people, the fact that the Lord, by our people doing what we need to do, by brothers like Mordecai, sisters like Esther, put in positions to where our brothers and sisters have a chance. This day is to celebrate our victory. These days are to celebrate the victory that our God sought to save our people. Unity. All of us on one accord.
That's right.
Us. Loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. Living a righteous life. Brothers being fathers to the fatherless. Sisters being mothers to the motherless. Brothers being real brews, Sisters being real sisters. Everybody on one accord. Read on, bro. Verse 21. Well, 22.
Verse 22. As the days were in, the Jews rested from their enemies, and on the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy.
So that was no longer sorrowful, now it's become joyful. Read.
And from mourning into a good day, that they should make them a day of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they had began, and as Mordecai had written unto them. Because Amon the son of Hamatha, the Agite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast purge, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them.
He put out that hit, that prayer, he put out that lot on them to destroy them, that if they destroyed them, that if they made them perish, that they would receive the treasures of the king's treasury. Read.
But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked devices, which he had devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name pure.
See, so now, again, this is giving you more insight that we turn the tables on our enemy. One that's sought to take us out. One that's sought to have indignation for one of our brothers for wanting to serve the Lord, for not wanting to bow down to man. That this day of sorrow, that this day of mourning no longer be sorrowful and mournful. That it be joyous. That it be a day of gladness. That it be a day of feasting. That it be a day of loving one another. Enjoying the company. Laughing. Music. A joyous occasion. Because the tables have turned. Read.
Therefore all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them.
So not only did the Jews also take this upon them, but all of those that sought to serve the Lord are also keeping the high holy day. Read.
So as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year.
Every what?
Every year.
So every year, Feast of Purim comes around to show honor to these things. To the position that we was put in, and to the glory of the Lord for reversing the ill that was waiting for us. Again, man, Christ said, they hated me before they hated you. Let's not take this lightly. Read.
And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation.
Throughout what?
Every generation.
Read.
Every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews.
That this should not fail. So we should be on a continual basis, yearly out, adhering to the Feast of Purim. Read.
Nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had endured them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed, the matters of the fasting and their cry.
So again, our people coming together in unity, all in one accord, fasting and praying unto the Lord for deliverance. Read.
And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book.
So again, just going over how this began. This is why. This is why that we celebrate Feast of Purim right here. It's just to show the glory of the Lord, man. It's just to show the glory of the Lord and to show what we can do as a nation if we all come together on one accord.
That's right.
Right. Peace, love, and unity. Not only that, but Christ say, bro, every knee shall bow and every mouth is going to confess. All those that were not Jews are now become Jews. All those that did not serve the Lord are serving the Lord. All those that did not celebrate are now celebrating the high holy days. Everybody got to come under the umbrella of the Lord.
That's right.
And on that we say shalom.
Shalom.